With recent news of Shy entering its final chapters, I was very quickly reminded that I haven't caught up to the manga and that the current translations aren't in sync anyway, so no matter how much I try, I'll always be about 80 chapters behind. But also how much I love Shy. I first started reading Shy about a year after its serialization, and I've been pretty off and on, as I am with ongoing manga. But for a few brief moments, I was able to experience Shy as a continuous entity, and that was with its anime. I've never really talked about how much I love Shy, and while I might want to talk about the manga separately, I am reminded of the adaptation when I think about it. So here are 3 of my favorite things in 300 seconds about Shy. While watching, I was very keen on the direction and how the show was able to really enhance emotionality during key moments. The first happens in episode 2 with Shy herself. The way the show invites you within the scene is adjusting the aspect ratio, opting for a cinematic view. However, it isn't left simply as an aspect ratio, but an ingrained part of the story as we see the rain fall through the cutoff. Shy has just lost her sister, but the rain falls through the darkness still. Even in the confines of her loneliness, there is something there, and this is reflective of her grandpa's wisdom about how much we need the company of others. The impact of allowing us to think about that empty space is then enforced once the scene transitions out, slowly removing the black bars and zooming out to give us this beautiful collage of colors filling the darkness within Shy. At her lowest, Shy is learning about how important it is that we don't fall to loneliness, that we keep reaching out to others, which is reflective of the show's form, that even within its tightened space, it doesn't stop reaching out. And this is consistent elsewhere, like in Iko's interiority, as we see embers fall through the emptiness of the ratio, which then putters out as the scene does, enforcing the loneliness she feels, and the impact when she is able to leave that headspace. Likewise with Pepesha and Sveta, and in a more stylized fashion with I and Mai, which has its decorations gradually change depending on the mood or intensity of the scene, until at its apex, there's nothing. The direction for Shy's key moments is incredibly well done. These scenes are vital, and the team putting so much artistry within them is great. Continuing on this note of adaptation praise is a really biased point, because she's my favorite character, but their handling of Pepesha and Sveta's story. The aspect ratio is once again employed, but here we see the screen slowly shrivel into the center, with a pattern similar to snowflakes, matching the setting. Instead of expanding outwards and representing a sense of hope as it did for the others, the enclosure is despair, a suffocating, hopeless moment with nowhere to go. It ends on the image of the candle being snuffed out, mirroring further her slow deterioration. Unlike before where we thought about the emptiness in an uplifting way, there is nothing left in this emptiness. We can't help but feel how hopeless things are. In some sense, we start to expect this darkness to be broken where it previously has, but we aren't given that. The end of her backstory is also punched up poignantly, not only with the memories seeping into the bubbles, which is a great way to show the serenity of the memory, but also the fragility of them as she's dying. But the compositing with the colors and background makes Sveta's transformation feel so visceral. That kind of play on colors is further seen when Pepesha reads one of her mother's letters. A muted tone is taken to reflect the somber nature. But when we move into memories, things are brighter, owing to how much those memories really mean to her. And when we cut to the letter showing a childish drawing of them, the slow zoom in coupled with the color sells the realization of how much her mother loved her. Pepesha's arc will always hit me in exactly the ways that the best of Shy can, and the anime did a wonderful job of bringing it out that hit me all the same, reliving it. It's undeniable that Shy is an action series, but the main aspect that gets me excited about the action isn't necessarily the fighting. The first major fight we get is with Sveta, and while it is a brawl with 4 people, innocent lives in danger, and the heroes, the main action wasn't action. A lot of that fight was mixed with flashbacks and contextual information. The character exploration and conversations between them matter quite a bit more than just the moves they used. The same is true for Season 2's main fight with Mai, where we got entire sections dedicated to exploring the trauma within them and understanding who they are and how their desires have manifested into the forms we see, and how that intertwines with our heroes. Winning for our heroes isn't exactly about destroying the opposition, but understanding and freeing them from the corruption that plagues them. By design, the bulk of shy villains were made this way because of an awakening, using their desires and wishes festering in their hearts. They aren't bad by nature, but manipulated to be so. The conclusion isn't defeating them, but understanding what makes them who they are, and having our central characters reach out to their hearts. It's much more fitting, considering the circumstances, that it's less about stamping it out with pure violence, but with empathy. And that's something I find really endearing, and also aligns with my personal beliefs, that pure violence cannot always be the answer, that there is goodness within every one of us. And Shy is all about that. I love Shy, and I haven't been able to put it into words the exact details, maybe owing to how sporadic I am about catching up to the story, but in this case, having been able to just sit with the series start to finish, I was able to really hone in on how this version of Shy managed. And I think it brought some really cool things to the table, able to really punch up the pathos of its backstories with directorial choices spanning multiple moments and arcs, and just reminding me of what makes Shy's conceit so resonant. Maybe in the future, we'll get season 3, when the manga does end. Perfect excuse. Or maybe not. And maybe I'll just have to make a video about the manga. Maybe I will. But no matter what form it's in, there's one thing certain, and that's how much I enjoy Shy. And that was the end of the video. The source I used at the beginning showing that Shy was entering its final chapters is actually a bit outdated now. It came out that Shy was actually ending in, I believe, 3 chapters, which does suck because I do really like Shy, but it does mean that maybe I will have to make that video about the manga. But anyways, if you like the video, then please feel free to like the video, or leave a comment, or hype it if you're on mobile, if that's your thing. And if you're really inclined and you really like what I'm doing here, then feel free to check out the Patreon. There is a free membership option if you just want to check things out and get early posts and updates on things. And even in the earliest tier, you can get access to stuff like the Discord server where we hang out and just vibe. But yeah, thanks to the people who are already in the Patreon that I've left on screen here. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.